Hi, I am Anna Imagination. I am doing an advice prompt. And on this one, I started to write it all out and I just went, I'm not in the mood to write right now. This one I really want to talk about because it's really in depth and it's complex. So the question that I browsed online and I found was, how do you tell if they're a narcissist? How do you know if the person you're in love with? How do you know if the new boyfriend or the new girlfriend that you found is a narcissist? How do you know if your parents are a narcissist? How do you know? What are the signs? So there's two aspects to this, and I hear a lot about, oh my God, they're such a kind person. They would never be. And a lot of people have this idea in their head that a narcissist is somebody who looks like X. They're obvious, they're pompous, they're arrogant. And basically, that's the grandiose narcissist. That is the very basic, extreme, this is the narcissist. The real problem is there is another kind called the vulnerable narcissist, completely different everything. So before I get into this, and this is the part where I started to write all this out when I went, oh no, I want to talk about this. I don't want to write this out. So what really is going on with with a narcissist is this. A lot of people think that a narcissist chooses the behavior. Let's get that out of there. Okay. Let's throw all that out. A narcissist does not choose the behavior. Okay. The second thing is a narcissist is not conscious of the behavior. They don't know, okay? They don't know that they have their mental disorder any more than you know what yours are without a diagnosis. You don't know. They're not walking around malicious and evil, knowing. Now, don't get me wrong. Some people know they're evil, but they don't know they have narcissistic personality disorder. Now, a lot of the problem with narcissism comes down to a little Greek myth about a man named Narcissus. And that story is what fueled the psychology behind the naming of the diagnosis. And this is where it gets really infuriating for me because the story actually is not at all properly depicting what is going on inside the mind of a narcissist. Every mental disorder has a trigger to it. We don't walk around constantly with these things embedded into us. Well, some things do, like schizophrenia. That's like permanently there. But most mental illnesses have a trigger to them. Almost all of them do. PTSD. Everyone thinks triggers PTSD, but that's where there's a lot of that's not quite true. Yes, there are triggers, and then basically you get a trigger and then the PTSD kicks in. And for me, my triggers, I'm just going to name a couple of them. Spiders, frogs, dead frogs. Spiders, dead frogs, dogs barking. Okay, so there's three triggers. We're going to change those up a little bit because one of them really bothers me still. So we're going to change that to spiders, um, dogs barking, and fireworks. There you go. That's an easy one. Um, Fireworks is like one of the most common PTSD triggers for anyone who walks away with PTSD. So basically, I'm going through life, la 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 la. I'm a happy, I'm my sunshine, and then I hear a firework, and I hear the firework, and immediately my brain goes, "Oh, it's an emergency!" Boom, and it hits this massive red button in the brain saying it's time to go to war, and instantly I'm right back. My fears are cranked all the way on, and I'm in fight or flight mode. I have said this 8 million times. If you have watched all of my videos, you're going to know what I'm talking about here. So, my favorite Walking Dead episode is called Here's Not Here. I think it's in season 5. No, season 6. Gotta think. Yeah, it's in season 6. And I can't remember. I think it was like season 6, episode 8, or season 6, episode 5, something like that. Here's Not Here is the Walking Dead episode when oh my god, it's been so long. When Morgan comes back and he finds himself at a cabin with a goat. And he has PTSD. Like, the guy who finds him is a forensic psychologist who puts him in a prison, in a cell in the cabin. There's a story why there's a cell. And he explains, I'm a forensic psychologist who worked at the nearby prison, and you have PTSD. The show is the best depiction of PTSD I have ever seen. It's extraordinary. It really it's like someone put a camera inside my brain, and I'm like, "Wow." And at one point, he's Morgan's going through, and he's definitely in a full episode. An episode, we're gonna call these episodes, and this is important because it relates to the narcissism. So he's in this full episode, and he's walking around, and he's you see everything through this tunnel vision, and there's, like, this pulsing happening to the heartbeat. You are in total war mode. He hears a snap, he turns, he's got his gun ready to fire, and there is a small girl with a crippled man, and he can't see that. All he sees is kill, threat, die. And that is a trigger. Beautiful. So that's the same thing. I heard a dog bark, and immediately my trigger would turn on, and I would look for the problem. I would look for the war, and I would immediately be ready to fight. Now, that's PTSD. But what people don't realize is dissociative identity disorder also has triggers to it. Borderline personality disorder also has triggers to it. ADHD, no, that's always there. Sorry, ADHD is always there. Now, narcissistic personality disorder has triggers to it. Narcissistic abuse syndrome has triggers to it. So really, you can take down a lot of mental illnesses, and you can have there's triggers to each and every one of them. The difference is certain triggers are going to set off whatever kind of mental illness you have. And those mental illnesses are going to be unique to the kind of abuse you endured. Okay. That's important. So the narcissist abuse, the person who is who has, not is or was diagnosed, but who has narcissistic personality disorder, it's a triggering condition. Now, some of you are going to scream, no, it's not. They have it all the time. Shh, wait, I'm getting to that part. I'm getting there. So, a person with narcissistic personality disorder, that their trigger will go off, and this is where vulnerable narcissists, the trigger is turned off, so that they're in this pleasant, wonderful person mode. But as soon as you put a trigger around them, it switches over. Now, a grandiose narcissist always has the trigger on. They always are triggered. They can't turn it off. That's the difference. Really? That's the only difference. And it took me years to figure this out because, and I'll tell you, grandiose narcissist is easy to recognize. And I'm going to go over the difference between them. First of all, they are the same in the sense of when they are both triggered, the behaviors are the same. So the list of how to tell if somebody's a narcissist, there you go. But it's really important that you understand first and foremost that every person with narcissistic personality disorder has an underlying non-narcissistic personality underneath that. Now, how deeply buried that personality is, whole nother story. And yeah, you are going to have some people who are legitimate assholes and they're narcissists. And you're going to have some people who are legitimately really sweet and they're narcissists. And and this is really where it gets difficult is people look at asshole or evil people and they think, "Oh, they're a narcissist." So don't confuse mental disorder. This is really important. Are we all paying attention? Don't confuse mental disorder with personality characteristics. And that's what happens a lot. A lot. Some people are just assholes. Really. This is what manners were your parents teaching you? Did you even have parents to teach you manners? Some parents love to teach their children how to be rude on purpose. They literally I firsthand experience. I have I really don't want to call out names. But that being said, trying to figure out how to say all this without like calling people out on it. Um, I have witnessed parents actually coaching their children how to be rude, indecent, evil. People are really messed up. So you've got this person whose core personality, and then you've got this mental disorder over here that's flipping on and off, or it's staying on per trigger. That's personality. That's narcissistic personality disorder, and that's over there. Now you've got a person who's Everything's a spectrum. I'm going to say it 8 million times until I die. Everything's a spectrum. So you have people who are really nice and you have people who are really mean, really evil, and then you've got all the shades in between. Okay? So we have this black and white thing in our head going, everybody's nice. Everybody's nice. And then you've got people who are, well, they're not nice. They're really crazy and they have all these mental disorders. And then you've got people who are real assholes. And it doesn't work that way. It's you've got this plateau, this basic core baseline, a baseline called the person's personality. Okay? And one of my favorite shows is the show House MD. Greg House is easily the world's biggest asshole. Now that's his core personality. He's not a narcissist. Imagine if that man was, though. Think about it. Now, he could have vulnerable narcissism, or he could have grandiose narcissism, where it's on all the time, or it's on every now and then. Okay? My brain is already going to work going, does he have narcissism? I need to sit down and rewatch the show. It's been decades since I've watched it. I need to sit down and watch it and diagnose him. Oh, that would be fun. Oh my God. I love watching. I'm the kind of person who watches fiction, movies and shows and does like psych work on them. So that all being said, now that's a distraction. I got to get off of Greg House. So that being said, I have a brother, and this is the one I've cut out of my life because he's not only he's a vulnerable narcissist, and he's also an asshole. I mean, he is like a level of asshole. And it took me a very long time to figure this out. This is why I'm so good at narcissism, is because my mother and my father both have it, and they're both vulnerable narcissists. My father is a sweet, wonderful, gentle teddy bear, and he's a narcissist. That is a mind fuck. I cannot begin to explain to you. My mother is a lot like me, a warrior. She is strong. She is amazing. And she is really, she has her mental issues. She has her mental issues. And one of her mental issues, no, she does not have narcissistic personality disorder. It took me a long time to sort this out. She has, I almost want to say it's dry, but it's not dry. It's narcissistic abuse syndrome. Now, here's the fun part. Narcissistic abuse syndrome is anytime you're exposed to a mental disorder, you run the risk of actually picking up characteristics of the person who you are exposed to. So a lot of empaths, a lot of victims who were subjected to narcissistic personality disorder have the traits, which makes it even harder to figure out, is this person a narcissist? You see why this is a huge ball of thread. And I'm like, oh no, we're doing a video on this one because this has layers to it. So you have you have the baseline personality perspective or baseline personality core of, is the person an asshole or not? You have the person going, oh, this person's really, really sweet, and they have vulnerable narcissistic personality disorder. And then you have somebody who is an asshole. This is my second husband. He was an asshole, and he also was a grandiose narcissist. Like, that's out there. And he also had narcissistic abuse syndrome. So it was layer upon layer with him always being an asshole, and that's his core personality trait. So we're talking uber, like Trump. Trump is a diagnosed grandiose narcissist. Big surprise. And he's an asshole. So Trump is such an easy example because he is diagnosed grandiose narcissist, and he's just a freaking asshole. So you can see, oh, that's easy to spot. And it is easy to spot. When you've got that combo happening, easy to spot. What I want to talk about, though, is the beautiful, wonderful, warm, fuzzy, cuddly people who are absolutely the biggest sweethearts, who are really sweet people, and they have narcissistic personality disorder. But it's temporary. Now, This one is hard for me. This one was really difficult for me to figure out. My father, one of his triggers for narcissism is children. This is true of anyone with narcissism. I have yet to find an example where this does not ring true. When I do, I will amend this video, but for now, I'm going to use the word all because I have yet to see an example where it's not the case. Research is still being done. That being said, children are a trigger. God, I wish I knew why. Okay, come on. Think about this. The reason why is because we are probably most likely subjected to narcissism while we are children. And children, even as children, narcissists love to target people younger than them. Almost always, guaranteed, because they're easy targets. Narcissism is all about taking somebody and feeling, it's about feeling safe. This is really, and I actually feel bad for narcissists because they are the ultimate, I don't feel safe. That is what is behind their brain. I need to do a whole nother video of what is behind the brain of a narcissist. And really, it's the code, I do not feel safe. So, how do you feel safe? The narcissist is a controller. Now, before I jump into controller and before I drop that word, which I already have, a lot of you have, of course, no. There are coping styles. Everyone has coping styles. You are either an avoider or you are a controller coping style. These are just coping styles. I'm a controller. So when I don't feel in control, when I don't have a situation that I feel I can cope with, I need to control. So I like to do exercise. That's controlling. Exercise is controlling. I like to, if you're a hoarder, you're controlling. That's a form of controlling. And we like to, basically it's doing, it's hands on, have to do, have to take action. We're doers. That's a controller. We have to drive the train. An avoider will say, like, look, I'm feeling stressed. I don't want to drive the train. I'm just going to sit in the back and stare out the window. That's an avoider. It's just the way we deal with stress. For me, I have to physically, my daughter is a controller. My daughter, wonderful person, absolutely one of the most health, took me 3 kids, but the mental health that I've put my children through with her, it's paying off because I was able to work on her at a younger age, and it's paying off. Very mentally stable, very mentally balanced, very mentally healthy, and I can watch her whenever she gets anxiety, she will start to clean. She's also a Virgo. She'll start to clean. She'll start to control her environment. She'll fold blankets. Controllers. So that's what I mean when I say a narcissist is a controller. A narcissist has the controller. You can have both, by the way. You can have both. You can be an avoider and a controller. Some narcissists have both. But this particular narcissist that I'm talking about right now, that is a particular, they're a controller. So they seek to put their hands on and do. They seek to manipulate. They seek to manipulate their environment. But black and white, again, everything's on that spectrum. Narcissist is way over here on the spectrum. Coping styles, when they're healthy, are here on the spectrum. This is where we all should be. This is where we all want to be. We all want to be in the area where we're all thinking and we're all healthy and we're all like, yeah, this is where you want to control. But for the narcissist, this is where things have gone bad. They started utilizing methods to control to make themselves feel better. So they were over in this area, and then it got worse, and then it got worse, and now they're narcissists. And that's how a person becomes a narcissist. It's somebody who takes controlling so that they want to feel safe. And so they'll start to control, maybe they'll move furniture, which is great, but it's not working because they don't feel safe because they're probably being abused by a narcissist. A narcissist, by the way, has to be taught. It is learned. It is absolutely 100% learned. A person is not born, I have the personality traits of a narcissist. It doesn't work that way. That's not how mental disorder works. This is a personality disorder because the Jerry inside of their brain, the fear station inside of their brain, said, okay, in order to feel safe, we have to control everything, including the people in it. So for them, because they feel so threatened, they seek out things that are smaller than them. Fun fact, the very first narcissists are bullies. Playground bullies are narcissists, are children of narcissists. And I say that a lot. I keep going back to the parents. And there's a lot of people out there going, it doesn't have to be the parents. It doesn't have to be. No, it doesn't have to be. It most likely is. And when you have a parent who's a vulnerable narcissist, who's also very sweet and is a teddy bear, and wouldn't even think of hurting anyone, and who is a pacifist, yes, you can be a narcissist and a pacifist. You can still be a narcissist because you still have that trigger in your head that flips on. My brother is an asshole and a vulnerable narcissist. Very difficult, very, very difficult. It took me years to figure this out because vulnerable narcissism, it just turns on every now and then. It's not permanently turned on. It was so infuriating. I could not figure out what I was dealing with. I had two narcissists and a dry narcissist, a narcissistic abuse syndrome person. She's also an empath. My father was also an empath. He was showing empathic, very, very sentimental, very emotional. And both my parents worked together so that my brother was not at all completely incapable of feeling empathic. He's just not until recently. It's really, really bizarre because he went through a personality adjustment where he became a father, and then he ended up being traumatized, and the trauma actually turned on his empathy. Extraordinary. Like, on a psychological standpoint, I watched him, like, no empathy for the first 20, 30 years of his life. He went through a traumatic event, and it switched his brain on so that now he has empathy. And it's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. So I'm just going to explain it because it's extraordinary. This is a person who was such a monster. He would torture animals. I will not say more than that. And he had the things he would do. And he would just, like a psychopath, very psychopathic. He had 4 of the 5 symptoms of being a serial killer by the time he was 10 years old. Extraordinary. And then he turned to me, and he started to beat me and threaten and torture me. Psychological torture. And then he had a child. He was a stepfather. And he was very empathetic. And around the same time, he went hunting with my brother, and they did something to the rabbit. I won't talk about it. But it snapped something in his brain, and he never walked away the same. He actually got PTSD from it. This is bizarre. And his memory completely wiped from this point on. So he had amnesic PTSD. And he had PTSD from this particular moment with this particular rabbit. And I don't understand it because I know what he did to a rabbit when we were 10, 15 years old. Won't talk about it. But I know things that because of him and what he did, I'm just like, what? But this particular rabbit, when he's now older, it traumatized him and it turned on his ability to feel empathy. And he became a pacifist. So I was like, wow, he's a different person. And then he had access to my son. And it turned on. It turned on inside of his brain, the narcissistic personality disorder. And I watched his narcissistic personality disorder immediately take over. And I went, son of a bitch. Oh my God. It was mind-blowing. Watching the same person who had abused me and those animals decades ago suddenly wake up. And while all of this is happening, his base core personality is still an asshole. So, as you can see, just this one person, there's a lot of individual threads. And it took me years to figure out. It's one of the reasons why I became, why I studied psych so desperately, was because I wanted to understand him and my mom and my dad. Because I had these 3 narcissists, this triangular narcissistic festering thing around me that I just could not figure out. And I got to see it actually turn on and turn off. And you never knew what was going to set it off. You never knew what you were dealing with. So the last time I interacted with my brother, I had to make extra care not to trigger his narcissistic personality disorder so I could extract my son from the horrific situation that they had him in. It was just astounding to see. So these are all the variables. People want black and white. They want cut and dry. It doesn't happen with narcissism. You're not going to get it. So how do you know if a person is a narcissist? They gaslight you. That's the easy answer. They gaslight you. My advice, always Google what gaslighting looks like. Look it up. Look up the words they use. Look up what they gaslight you about. Now, remember, the narcissist runs off of the same thing that everybody else runs off of. I don't feel safe. The difference is a narcissist will go to whatever lengths possible to make sure they feel safe. So a narcissist, everybody associates safety with power. Power and safety are a whole nother little, oh, I love power and safety. They're like that is like psychological candy to me. We'll talk about those later, much later. This is not this video. But they associate safety with having the power and having the control. If you're the puppet master, you're okay. I'm safe if I'm the puppet master, because the illusion they were given as children was their parent, who was the puppet master, was the one who got to call the shots. They're the ones who were the safest because they ran the show. The ringmaster, the one who makes everybody dance, is the safest. So that's how their brains work. This is a life and an existence where people don't think in terms of love or gifts or trust. Those three concepts, home, that's a fourth concept, don't exist in the narcissist's head. They don't exist. They're completely void. They are foreign entities. I cannot explain this enough. Because once you understand the degree in which there is no love, they can't understand it because they weren't, sorry, my Bergen came out. They can't understand it because they don't. I wish I could use the right words to just wrap your perspective around this, because once you get it, once you get this, it switches your perspective from here to the right degree you need, that you can just release. And once you can get to that degree, I'm going to do it. I'm going to find the words to walk you through this perspective shift, so that when you get this information in your head, when you process this belief and your cognitive core goes through it, your perspective shift will shift to exactly the degree it needs to not care, to escape, to run away permanently, to change how you see love, to change how you see gifts and home and trust. It's a game changer. But you got to get this through your head. This is the material that matters. That a narcissist, absolutely. God, I wish I had the words. I need to really, this needs to be my new assignment for the next few weeks, is just focusing on breaking down all the little pieces of the narcissist. There's a reason why I focus so much on narcissism. It's because all bullies are narcissists. It's because we have a real problem with bullies and assholes in this country, in this world. And all of them is a form of narcissism. That's all we're dealing with here. And if you can recognize it, if you can see it, so how do you see it? Gaslighting. I just keep going. It's gaslighting, people. It's just gaslighting. So a narcissist requires two things to ensure their safety: your cooperation. You. If it doesn't have somebody to control, then in their brains, they don't feel loved. It's not the real love, it's the narcissist love. Okay? So I'm going to just try this. Love in their world is visibility. It's visibility. It's being invisible is hate or lack of love, in their opinion. This is what they use. This is what they teach you. And every narcissist doesn't understand this. They're not capable of understanding beyond these basic concepts. They don't know. And it's really horrible and cruel to say. And I've had so many people come back, I understand love. Oh, really? Really? Because Having an anxious attachment style where you think you have to clean and desperately sink your claws into and possess and have jealousy, that's not love. That is not love. Caring about somebody so deeply that you're afraid of losing them is not love. I do not spend every day of my life ever worried that I'm going to lose my son or my daughter. I actually did just lose my oldest daughter to narcissism. My oldest daughter is a full-blown grandiose narcissist. My ex-husband conditioned her well. So for me, losing my children is very, very real. That being said, I'm not afraid of I'm trying to figure out an example here that I actually can relate to because I've lost cats, I've lost my children, I've had my kids kidnapped. So losing my children is a real okay, before that occurred, most people don't walk around clinging to their children, terrified they're going to lose them. Your coffee in the morning, your coffee in the morning, you have it and you're not afraid of losing it. You can enjoy it and relax with it. And when you smell it, you think, "Oh, I love coffee." And you just savor it and you enjoy it. And you don't need it to love you back. You just enjoy it. That's love. That is love. It's a really strange example, but it's one that I had to use when I was looking for the definition of love because I had grown up without any love. I grew up with narcissists. I had a mother, a father, and a brother, and all three of them were like this narcissistic nest of just hell. And then I sought out, found, or attracted narcissist after narcissist of boyfriends, owners, and um, husbands, and they were all narcissists. And then I had one girlfriend, and my girlfriend was a narcissist. So by the time I was 40, no, I was 42, it was last year, I realized this massive eye-opening, oh my God, I have never actually seen or experienced love. My last boyfriend, my imp, now he loves me, and I love him. And I had to learn using him, using what he felt for me, what love was. And it was not easy. It was this foreign thing. And I'm like, what is this? And he very patiently, very gently and kindly, like, this is love. And you don't know what it looks like. And it took a lot of work, a lot of tears, a lot of work to learn that what he was showing me, he was right. That's love. And it was so foreign to me that after 40 years of living, drinking, breathing narcissism, it was like this weird foreign thing. I'm like, what? And it finally took the analogy of this cup of coffee. I love it. And the way I feel for it is the way I feel for him now. I don't seek. It was actually the show Doctor Who that really gave me the words. Thank you, River Song. When you love the stars, you don't love them. You don't ask them to love you back. That's love. That is love. That's it. Imagine loving something so purely, so simply. It's simple that you don't think, ready for it, what's in it for me? What's in it for me has no fucking business in the business of love. If you are thinking, what's in it for me? That isn't love. That's narcissism. What's in it for me? That's how you tell a narcissist. It's their underlying motive. What's in it for me? You want to go to the school dance, Johnny? What's in it for me? Narcissism. That's it. That's their motivation. So they use the word love. What they really mean is visibility. They use a lot of ignoring you, stonewalling, silent treatment. You're dead to them until they need you. Sound familiar? It's extraordinary, isn't it? This was supposed to be a 5-minute video on narcissism, and I just cannot do a 5-minute video on narcissism. I need to do like a full narcissism boot camp. I think that's what I'm going to have to do, is like a whole boot camp of, all right, I'm going to show you every little in and out of the narcissist, because it's really important you understand what it looks like, what it feels like. And once you can understand the concept of that, what's in it for me? The other way that really helped me understand, it's when I studied the emotions. Love. People think that emotions are a one-way street, that love feels one way, that gifts feel one way, that home feels one way. Almost every emotion, I'm working on it, but I think every emotion has two pathways to them. The first one is the emotion, how it feels when it's given, and the emotion, how it feels when it's received. Two completely different emotions, but the same emotion. Two completely different feelings, but the same emotion. Do you see the difference now between an emotion and a feeling? I'm going to say it again. It has two sides to it. What it feels like when you give it, and what it feels like when you receive it. So the emotion, love, feels a certain way when you give it, and it feels a certain way when it's received. A gift is the easiest. We all know gifts. Sorry, I just had a memory surface. When you heal, all the positive memories surface. When you heal, the positive memories wake up. You can access the positive memories. And I just had a positive memory from when I was 5 years old wake up. I was in a school play. It was it was in my Christian school. And it was Christmas time. And we were doing The Greatest Gift. And I was 5. And we had all brought in stuff, our own things. And we had wrapped up, they were play props. We were told to bring in a toy or something. And then we were instructed to wrap it up. And I remember being so excited that through this play, I was able to recreate the feeling of gifting, of receiving. It's the last time, it's the only time I felt the emotion of gifting, because it's the only time I received a gift without a narcissist involved. I had taken one of my little ponies. I love my little ponies. And I had wrapped it up. And I remember sitting on the stage, acting out that I was being given this toy, this gift. And I acted out like I didn't know what to expect. So there was the surprise and the anticipation. Gifting really is a smorgasbord of emotions, positive ones. And I remember the excitement of ripping open the package, and I knew the entire time what it was, and it was a play. It was my own pony that I brought in for me. And I ripped off the package, There was no guilt present. There was no guilt present. And it was my pony. And I was so overjoyed with love for this thing that I hugged it. It was a feeling I've never, ever, I haven't felt since my imp, since my VIP. But there's two pathways. There's the gift, feeling, receiving, and giving. Narcissists are obsessed with getting, but they don't know how to get, so they take. So you have a thing, love. You can give it, receive it, or take it. Now, are you following me? Stay with me. This is it. I'm going to say this again. You have love. That's the emotion. You can give it. You can receive it. And it can be taken and stolen. Those are 4 emotions. Stay with me. This is it. I think I figured it out. So this is it. We have this exchange of giving and receiving. But for narcissists, it's taking and stealing. Love is taken. It's forced. It's rape. Home is the same way. All the narcissists in my life, I was not given a home. I did not receive a home. It was taken and it was stolen. So I never knew home. This is what I've been needing to say. Trust, respect, every emotion you can think of. When you live with a narcissist, you're not living. God, I love breakthroughs. I love breakthroughs. This is it. When you live with a narcissist, emotions are not on a give and receive path. They are on a steal. They are on a steal and a take path. And it changes the emotion. It changes the feelings. It's rape. Believe me, from somebody who knows, I know. Your home is raped. It's something that is threatened and forced and taken from you. And love. This is transaction. God, this makes sense. This is transaction. I'm working here. This is me working. This is how I do it. And I'm about to upgrade this video to a rated R. So I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to talk about sex here in a minute. If you are sensitive, you should probably leave because just be forewarned. And we're going to do some self-care sessions after this because this is about to get intense. I lived as a sex slave. Sex my whole life has been transactional. It isn't until very recently, I mean 6 months ago, a year ago, that I finally was able to break the transaction out of my brain. That I was finally able to break the transaction out of my brain and realize that sex doesn't exist on a take or stolen, that it's not transactional anymore, that it's giving and receiving. And that's the difference between having an emotion that is forced from you. Respect. Parents scream about respect, and they force it from you. They force the respect from you. And it's a kind of rape. It feels the same way. It really feels the same way. That's what a narcissist does. It takes respect and love and home and trust and gifts, and they rape them from you. And then the narcissist says, there, that's love. That's what it looks like. And because you don't know any different, and they don't know any different, because their parents did it to them, and their parents did it to them. So no one knows what it looks like. And every now and then you find somebody rare who gets it, who knows. And they're the ones looking at you going, where did you come from that you think this is what love is? It's the pathways. And when I found the pathways, quite by accident, very recently, I mean, like in the last 3 to 6 months, I discovered this with love. And it was the first time I felt love in my life. And I had to compare my partner to a cup of coffee. By the way, this is Earl Grey tea. So the irony cracks me up whenever I say coffee. It's visibility that the narcissist actually wants. That's what they're really bargaining for. That's what they've conditioned into you is visibility, being ignored. And it took one of my triggers. My PTSD trigger was visibility. If I wasn't visible, I would, if I felt invisible, I would launch into a massive panic attack. And I realized a lot of shadow work later that the reason why was because visibility was the commodity, was the going transaction in a narcissist's world. And they gaslight you, calling the visibility love because they don't know any better. That isn't maliciousness. That's not knowing any better. So I am, once you get into the work I do and you really start delving down deep into the narcissist work I do, you're going to notice that I have a lot of, I say a lot when it comes to a narcissist. I stand up for the narcissist a lot. I defend them. The reason why is because there is one man I met. One. I had the most beautiful conversation with him. He was crying and he was telling me about his daughter and how his wife divorced him and he's lost and he's grieving and he's upset and he's concerned about his daughter and he's concerned about connecting with his daughter. And I started to comfort him and walk him through everything. And I said, I was telling him about his wife and I said, first of all, that's not your wife anymore. And he really shifted perspective with that. He positioned himself mentally where he needed to accept that and grieve. And in the middle of us talking, he said to me, I'm just trying to get better, legitimately. And then he said, I was just diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. Boom, drop the mic, hold the phone. What? I met a narcissist who genuinely wanted to get better. I didn't believe that they existed. I met a narcissist who was humble. Wow. So while everyone's out there raging on all the narcissist hate, I'll be the first to tell you they're people. They are people. There are bad people in the world. I have seen how bad the worse people can get. I ended up in a mental hospital for 3 days, but I've seen how bad people can get. This whole world hating on narcissists is also part of the problem. There is no gentle mercy for those people, and there needs to be. And I know that comment of mine, I'm going to lose a lot of followers, and that's okay. I will teach, first and foremost, gentle mercy above all else, because people cannot help how their subconsciousness decides to turn on and start to wire things. Narcissists are victims too. Now, I am not saying you should stick around and be forgiving for a narcissist. If the person is hurting you, get the fuck away from them. Take it serious. Hope that they get help. But this whole vengeance kick, I have no tolerance for it. As far as I'm concerned, a person who seeks vengeance is just as bad as the person who was the abuser. Vengeance makes you an abuser. I won't touch it. I have no tolerance for vengeance. My first husband was a vulnerable narcissist, another wonderful big teddy bear of a man who had that trigger. And every time he got around children, that thing just turned on. I think, hypothesis, that with a narcissist, a child triggers the memory of when they were vulnerable. And then they feel the child's lack of safety and they internalize it and they sponge that up. And they themselves become a personification of the thing. Bullies have to poof out their chests to make themselves look bigger so no one threatens them. That's how they work. And nothing motivates them more than the feeling of vulnerability. And I think a narcissist feels vulnerable, remembers the feeling of vulnerable. I believe that a child is the narcissist's trigger, which is why you have a lot of parents who acted like monsters when they had children. But then you grew up and you had your children and you're an adult and your parent's not a parent anymore. And you're just going, I don't understand it. My parents were assholes when I was a kid and now they're great. I don't understand it. Because narcissists, when they are around children, are picking up and they're basically being reminded. The trigger is, remember when you were that small and vulnerable? And that, boy, that sets in. That sets in. There is nothing that triggers you more than watching somebody your age. I remember it was the hardest thing watching my 3 children grow up because I was raped when I was 15. So I'm watching my 15-year-olds when my oldest daughter turned 15. I had this, it was like a year of a PTSD trigger. Now my second daughter is 15, my youngest child. And I'm right there again where, well, not anymore because I've done havening. But yeah, there's like this thing in my brain that's constantly turning on, that's constantly looking at her, just going, wow, when you were her age. Yeah, not anymore. Very much with my first daughter. I'm glad to see that the healing's worked. So that's one of the things that it's definitely playing a factor in all this. I'm doing a lot of hypothesizing today because it's just like once I realized that breakthrough with the different planes, I have a lot of work to do. That's what I call work. And now I have a lot of, all right, let's sit down and analyze that. I'm going to go on my blog now. I'm going to write all that out. I'm going to write up a documentation. I'm going to write my abstract and I'm going to do a little dissertation and I'm going to pull it all together and be like, okay, so these are the pathways of how emotions work. I just like unlocked, achievement unlocked. And I'm just like, woohoo, I got all this nothing goodies just to playing with. I'm so excited. Oh, I love it when I find something new. Exploratory dialogues. Like there is nothing more fun for me, more candy than finding this new concept. So what you're going to see from me over the next 2 weeks is a lot of new material, just focusing on the pathways of the emotions. When an emotion exists, trust, and trust is given, received. I need to write this down because it's a 4 pathway. It can be given, received, taken, or stolen. Like that's the 4 box, and every emotion is this way. Every emotion is this way. And if it's consensual, literally emotions are consensual. Get this through your head. Emotions are consensual. Love is consensual. Trust is consensual. Giving is consensual. Should be. And a narcissist takes the consent out of emotions. How many times have you heard your parents say, respect me? You can't force somebody. Oh, God, I remember that. Oh, my God, I grew up with that. My father, narcissism, would command. That's a way to tell a narcissist. Do they ever command that you feel a certain way for them? That's narcissism. Yeah. You can't command emotions. Who does that? Narcissists. So, to answer the ultimate question here that I asked, how do you tell a narcissist? A narcissist will command your emotions to be a certain way, and they will punish you if your emotions do not comply. Controllers. They will gaslight you, deliberately targeting your cognitive core, taking your beliefs away from you so that you're not capable of forming your own perspective without them. Complete and total dependency. They will never, ever apologize, or while they're triggered, they will never apologize, and they will never take responsibility for the wrongs of their doing while they're triggered, which is where it gets difficult, is because a vulnerable narcissist who is nice will, but when they're triggered, they won't. And then they could switch back over to being their regular nice person. But assholes without narcissistic personality disorder will never apologize. So we're back to the how do you know? Because no matter how much of an asshole you are, people don't command certain emotions from you. I think we're overcomplicating it. I think at the end of the day, are you happy? Are you being abused? Are you being respected? It doesn't matter what you want to call it. It doesn't matter what you want to say. It doesn't matter what they're being diagnosed with, what they're not diagnosed with. It doesn't really matter. What matters is, are you safe? Are you psychologically safe? Really, nothing else matters. If you are not psychologically and or physically safe, get the fuck out. Love yourself more than the person who's abusing you. Everything else is moot. Don't worry about what you're calling it. Don't worry about what they are. If they're not being nice to you, why are you around them? If they're not an elevator person, I love elevator people. If they aren't your elevator people, then you really need to do some inward work and get yourself out. So that's it. How do they make you feel? Are you crying a lot? Are you constantly shaming and guilting yourself for being around them? Get the fuck out. If they don't make you feel good, if they don't make you feel fucking awesome, then get the fuck out. Raise your standard. Because I can give you all the symptoms of a narcissistic personality disorder, but every one of them is going to have a caveat. Every one of them is going to have an exception because you're looking for a black and white answer where there isn't one. In the meantime, while you're browsing the internet looking for answers, should I stay with Johnny? You're being abused. There's your answer. If you're being motivated to look this up, you're probably not happy and you probably need to leave. So put the internet down and instead do some soul searching. Are you happy? Is this person making you miserable? Move out. Tell them, you know what? I think I'm going to take a break for a minute. Give me a month. Give me 3 months. Do you feel yourself relax when they're not around? Get the fuck out then. Why would you live like that? I know why. I can break it down for you. I don't want to right now. I have it in other videos. If you want, I'll do that. If you're concerned about the slingshot effect, I'll do videos on the slingshot effect. Here, I'll write it down right now. Slingshot effect. Because that is something. What is the slingshot? The slingshot effect is when you're abused. I'm just gonna like summarize. It basically means that you seek comfort in familiarity. And you are avoiding, because you're an avoider, you are avoiding the discomfort of the unknown. That's all. So you keep going back to the same person over and over again because you are seeking comfort. Because your self-care is low, so you seek comfort. So your self-care is low, so you keep putting yourself in a bad situation that's familiar for the comfort. Instead of stop supplementing comfort and familiarity for self-care. That's the problem. Here, I'm going to write that down here. It's 1.1 in the video. And it's stop seeking comfort as a supplement for self-care. That's why you keep going back. That is exactly why you keep going back. Because it's easier. Because it's familiar. And you have a deficit of self-care. And you don't know how to give yourself self-care. So instead, you seek out comfort. Comfort is not self-care. Comfort is not self-care. I have a whole thing on the comfort zone that I do. Yeah, I think that's everything. I'm feeling good. I have a lot to cover. So this video turned out to be something that I did not expect it at all to be. I have to figure out how I'm going to put it out there. Because this is now, yeah, I don't even know what to, I don't know. I don't know. This is more like exploratory dialogues. Because it's just me rambling. And I guess I could say Anna talks, but yeah, this is like a whole, my thesis totally went out the window for this one. This is like, all right, I have a mission. Well, screw the mission. I apparently was going to wander the universe today and just talk about random shit. Random wanderings. That's what this needs to be called. Random wanderings. Because it's fun to say. So this is the first video for random wanderings. It's going to be the Hodge Podge where I throw all the shit that I really can't categorize it, but boy, is it juicy stuff. Random wanderings. So thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for tolerating my tea and my coughing and hacking. I am still getting over this crappy flu sickness thing that may or may not be COVID. It's okay because I'm isolated. Thank you again so much for joining me. All my links are below. I have a witchy side and I have the more, I don't know what it is. It's the serious side. So I have a serious side and I have a supernatural side. And eventually I'll figure out how to like yin yang these two things together into my own hybrid of what I am. I mean, that's what I'm doing. But thank you for joining me for this wonderful ride. It's been extraordinary. And now I've got a whole lot of work to do. So I encourage you to rewatch this video with a notebook. Yeah, definitely come to my videos with notebooks. Like I just need to like, hey people, do you have a pen and pencil? Because you're going to need it. Like that's something I've noticed. This is the classroom. This is the classroom. This is like, I'm building my brand right now as we speak. I'm gonna plan this out. So next time we come together, you got to bring your pen. You got to bring your paper. By the way, this is how committed I am to mermaids. So you got to bring your pen. You got to bring your paper. You got to bring yourself. And it's just going to be a classroom. This is my lecture hall. And it's random wanderings because there's a lot in here. I can't even begin to. I talked about emotions today. I talked about narcissists. I talked about comfort zones and self-care. I was all over the place today. I talked about how emotions and feelings work. I did some shadow work today and I had a breakthrough. All right. And I said that I would talk about the Slingshot Effect, why we do that. All right. Thank you so much for joining me. All my links are below. I have my witch side. I have my psych side. And I'm working on bringing them together for this beautiful balance. If you stayed with me through the whole video, we're going to do a little meditation now, because why not throw more Hodge Podge into the soup? Ooh, soup. Maybe that could be like the name of this video, is like random soup or Psyche Soup. Oh, Psyche Soup. Oh my God, that's so catchy. Psyche Soup. Oh, I love that. Oh, I'm going to do it. Psyche Soup. Psyche Soup. I found my new thing. Psyche Soup. And that's so much more fun to say than random wanderings. Psyche Soup. All right, welcome to Psyche Soup. Psyche Soup. Oh, I love it. I love it. Oh, that makes me happy. Okay, so one more ingredient into the soup. Let me cough and hack, and then we're going to do a meditation because it's Psyche Soup. Okay. I'm going to start with some tapping. I love tapping. Tapping. Tapping is point here, and then we're going to go here, point. We're going to go here, and then here, and then we're going to go right here. I'm going to walk you through it, okay? I don't know why it works, but it does. I don't know why it helps. I haven't looked into the science yet. It's on my list of to-dos. One day, I will look into it. In the meantime, there's a whole lot of Google information out there, so the internet does it for me, which is probably why I haven't, is because it's out there. I trust it. It came from some credible resources, and everyone's doing it. So there's science here. I know there is. My intuition and my witch sense says, oh, it's valid. Trust it. Do it. And my intuition is spot fucking on. All right, now. Deep breath. All right, and we're going to pick a mantra. And the mantra is going to be, I am whole. Oh, we're going to go downstream. So the purpose of a mantra is to put ourselves in a downstream. Whole nother conversation. That's for another episode of Psyche Soup. All right. All right, so I usually use the words I feel safe, but I'm definitely beyond that one now. Endure this too. That's my mantra. All right, so the current mantra of the day is endure this too. Endure this too. Ooh, I like this mantra. Yes, this is definitely my mantra. Endure this too. All right, my rhythm's off. Endure this too. I will endure this too. Endure this too. Deep breath. Slow release. Endure this too. Endure this too. Endure this too. Okay, we're going to rub right here. There's like little divots right here. That's where we're going. You just like massage. Enjoy this too. Oh, I love tapping. Enjoy this too. Top of the head. Enjoy this too. Okay. I will release what no longer serves me. Thank you so much for joining me. I know this was a rather talkative adventure. Thank you for joining me for the first episode of Psyche Soup. Thank you again. All the links you need are in the bottom. And yeah, of course, I welcome all comments, share, post. Good luck with your abuse. I am here if you need guidance. May the kindest of words always find you.